Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and welcome to Sidat HR Digest, brought to you by Sidat Consult. Happy New Year! It's a new year for us to relearn and grow in our HR profession. You're welcome to Sidat HR Digest, brought to you by Sidat. So you may be wondering who Sidat is. Sidat Consult is made up of a strong and dynamic human resource management professionals committed to providing innovative, tailored, and practical HR solutions and the sustained and excellent service delivery. Our team has a combined experience over 20 years providing HR solutions in the area of recruitment and talent acquisition, staff and HR outsourcing, training and development, salary benchmarking, compensation and benefits management, job analysis and evaluation, performance management, and general HR service, HR advisory. We partner with you to transform your human resource capability into business. See that HR Consult, your trusted HR partner. You can contact us at we are located at Asharman Runabout off the Michelle Camp Road near the CBG Bank Tema. You can reach us by phone on 0244 or 0550 or visit our website at www.sidatconsults.com. Sidat Consult, your trusted HR partner. So you're welcome once again. Today is another day that we are going to have a very, very important discussion: improving employee performance through training, a step-by-step guide. Today we are blessed to have one of the renowned international HR practitioners who will join us for a discussion. So before I do that, I will do a brief introduction, read the background of our resource person today. Then with much honor, I introduce him. Then we kickstart. So if you just join us wherever that you are watching us from, please share a comment or let us know where you are watching us from, and we will acknowledge you. So today, our very own resource person will be Mr. Jeffrey McBoham. He is a global learning and development, business, project management, equity, diversity and inclusion, and general human resource management and development professional with specialization in structural design, project management, performance management, and innovate improvement learning strategy advisory and general human resource development. He's a principal consultant at Team Pack Solution, a learning and performance consulting, training and development, human resource advisory, and certification preparation company based in Columbia, in Maryland, in the United States of America. Jeffrey currently works as a United States federal government contractor on a Department of Labor contract awarded to his parent company, AP Ventures. Just prior to AP Ventures, Jeffrey worked for Serial Space, a space exploration company where he built training programs for their program managers who worked on multi-million dollar NASA program. Prior to forming ThinkPack Solution, Jeffrey was a senior learning advisor at AARP in Washington, D.C., and prior to joining AARP, Jeffrey managed the instructional system design at Aerotech Inclusion Company, headquartered in Hanover, Maryland. Jeffrey has led the design and delivery of several successful learning and development workshops for high-profile clients, including the Baltimore Ravens client service team. Jeffrey holds 3 master's degrees, wow, in business, HR management and development, and in structural design. He holds HRIC and PIMS, SPHR, and PMP professional certification, as well as SHRM Senior Certified Professional Certification. Prior to moving to the United States, Jeffrey worked as a legislative research officer in the parliament of his native country, Ghana. Jeffrey's passion outside his professional life are soccer, be an active public speaker and a Toastmaster. He is a past area director for Area 75 in Division G of Toastmaster International's District 37 and spending time with his daughter. Wow, such an impressive profile. So without much ado, let's welcome our key guest speaker for today or to join us is Jeffrey. So, Jeffrey, you're welcome to Sedat HR Digest. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Eben.
And how are you doing, sir?
Doing pretty well. It's interesting to hear, somebody else read my profile.
Wow.
Sometimes I'm like, is that me? But it's been a long journey. I mean, it's been decades of studying, working
Wow.
hard, and things like that. So sometimes you listen back at it and you're like, wow, is that me? Is that the same guy who was hustling so many years ago? So it is what it is.
Wow, wow, fantastic. It's great to have you here and well done. We know that there's more accomplishments on its way. So, today we'll be having a discussion on improving employee performance through training. And I believe, based on your work experience, you are going to give us a step by step guide to help us. So, before we delve into discussion, we have our people who have just joined. We have Pato Rankin, he says that Asani Bright watching from Kaswa. We have Salamat, our loyal viewer. She says hello. And I have Portia. Portia says, I'm watching from Tema 25. So if you just join us, just comment in our various social media platform. Let us know you are watching us. If you have any question, please drop it in there. So today we'll be having a discussion on improving employee performance through training, a step-by-step guide. And we are honored to have here with us Jeffrey Mark Boham. He's a global learning and development. He has a big profile, which when we have to talk, it will be a whole session on it all. So, Jeffrey, let's delve
Decades of
into it.
growth.
So let's delve into it. We know that today we are discussing improving employee performance through training. So the floor is yours. What has training got to do with improving employee performance? The floor is yours.
Before I say anything, let me acknowledge one lady. One lady, she just joined. Her name is Ama Abrefi. She is the Mrs. She's the Mrs. of somebody who actually trained me. Okay,
Wow.
yeah, she's the Mrs. of a gentleman who I looked up to as a kid, and Mr. Sechi. I'm sorry, I have to say it. Mr. Sechi, he's one person who so brilliant, so smart. He always sat back and then guided the kids to grow. You know what I mean? So I always tell him everywhere I go that he actually trained me. He prepared me. So everything I do now, I owe a lot to him. So, Mrs., I'd like to acknowledge you. Anyway, so the question
Oh,
again.
so what has training? We are talking about improving employee performance through training. So what did connect? What has training got to do with improving employee performance? Let's delve deeper
Okay,
to have more discussion
okay.
about it.
So let me start by just giving the general layman's context of what HR is all about. Okay. I think most of the time we get too academic and we say, oh, well, I learned this, I focused on this. But when you really think about HR, it's all about bringing the right people into an organization, growing them within the organization, and making sure that when their job is done, they exit clearly and respectfully out of the organization. So HR is about recruitment and selection. HR is about growth, development, and management of people. And HR is about outplacement services. Now, when you think about performance improvement, okay, it is a very critical and core. If you look at it, bring people in, grow them, take them out. Okay. So growing people is an integral part of the HR person's responsibility. You can't just bring somebody into an organization and not set the person up for success. You can bring a person into an organization and not improve upon the person's skills. You can bring a person into an organization and not ensure that the person also grows and keeps getting the promotions that he or she is looking for. So much as people come into an organization to work for you, you the organization, and particularly the people who facilitate that, they are the HR folks. So what HR has to do is when people come into an organization, think about soccer teams. There's a reason why soccer teams have youth academies. There's a reason why HR teams have specialized departments where they actually train. And the vehicle for improving people's performance in alignment with what they have to do for the company is training and development. And most of the time, I think people struggle to separate and clarify the difference between the two. Training is that specialized step by step approach to building people to get to the capabilities that they deserve to be able to function at a higher level within the organization. Development are all those other activities like the conferences, the seminars and things. People, you see, the people have to have their own engagement. They have to be part of the developmental process. But training is the specifically designed step-by-step approach to bring them up. Okay, so basically that's the reason why it's important to incorporate training as part of the core HR activities. And that is one area that I specialized in. When I when I got in
Wow.
when I got into business school and to training in HR school, I was like bringing people up and growing people is what I want to do. That's where I kind of built my expertise. And thank you very much, Madam Abrifi.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much. I learned something. You made an opening remarks which really resonated. It says that as HR, we are setting up people for success. That is our main. And he said the vehicle for improving performance is training. So we'll delve deeper into now. So what are the key factors that contribute to the need for employee performance through training? The key factors that will contribute to the need for employee performance through training.
If I'm understanding your question well, what I would say is you know, there's something called organizational development. When people get brought into an organization, okay, um, basically the organization has expected levels of performance that those people have to, I would say, perform in order to meet the expected deliverables and the expected business results that they have to bring into the company. Now, when people come into an organization and their performance is not meeting those expected standards, what HR folks have to do is step back and ask themselves, okay, we selected person ABC to do EFG. We knew person ABC had the capabilities right off the bat. So, what is causing the person to not be able to deliver at the expected capacity that we want the person to deliver? Okay, so when that happens, we conduct something called a needs assessment. The needs assessment process is truly um, understanding what is causing people not to meet their expected behaviors, what is causing people not to meet their expected performance levels. It could be anything from them having issues at home, it could be anything from them not having the right car, or it could also be that they don't have the requisite skills and capabilities. Maybe you had somebody at a point where one particular software was in existence. However, the company may have adjusted and moved to a different system. And if you haven't trained the person to be able to function utilizing the new system, what is going to happen is that the person that you brought on board thinking that they were ready to execute at the level, or probably the person who was executing at a certain level 5 years ago is a different person. So you have to train the person in the systems, the processes, the tools to get the person to actually get to a point where they are meeting the expectations of the organization. If that is the question that you asked, I believe I'm answering your question.
Fantastic. I think I will have a follow up question to that. You said something needs analysis, needs assessment is very key. Is very key. So we'll move on to discuss about the needs assessment. Somebody might be wondering, as you have explained, How would I go about it? What methods can organization or as an HR use to assess current employee performance level? Because definitely you need to assess the level before you can say that there is a need. So my question to you is that, Jeff, what are the methods that as an organization I can use to assess the current performance levels from for in terms of needs assessment?
Well, to begin with, before anybody gets into any position, there's something called goal setting. The goal setting process is where you sit with the person and say, okay, if you are going to be building websites, we expect you to, we set standards. We expect you to build 10 websites per week at this level of quality, at these standards. So if the person is meeting those thresholds for fully successful levels, then the person is meeting expectations. But if the person is building 6 out of 10 websites and the quality is below par, what you do is you sit with the person and ask the person, we set goals, you said you were ready to be able to deliver at this point. What is causing you to not meet that? Because when we look at your outcomes are not really meeting those expected performance levels. That's number one. Sometimes you may do a skills assessment. Sometimes you might put people in certain positions, okay? Sometimes you might put people in certain positions to see their improvements and their existing capabilities. For example, if you want to get someone into leadership, the person may be an individual producer. The person may be operating within a team. But if you want the person to start leading the team, it comes with new skills and new competencies. So you may want to just put the person in that situation and see how the person is going to respond and react to see whether the person is ready or not. A person might be a team player. You might want the person to start leading the team. Okay, what you do is you say, I'm not going to be in the office this week. I want you to manage the team, and you get 10 people watching the person. You say, give me feedback when this person comes as to how ready this person is on a scale of 1 to 10 to actually lead the team. Write everything down. What is the person doing right? Where's the person falling short? If the person cannot speak well. So when you come back, you take a look at it. You say, you ask the team, compare this person to what I do. When the person is presenting, when the person is leading teams, when the person is supporting projects, what is the rate the person? Do a 360, give us feedback. And then when we come back, we sit with the person and say, these were the areas of competency that we expected you to, I would say, hone and develop and really execute. But you were not able to exhibit those behaviors. And so we are realizing that there's a gap between your current proficiency level and where we need you to be in order to be that leader that we're looking for. So we're going to build a systematized, specific set of training approaches for you to actually be able to meet those competencies. So there are so many ways that you can really assess and evaluate how a person actually is meeting current competencies. There are so many ways. I think it depends on what you're looking for. Can I step away for a quick second? Somebody just knocked on my door. I just want to open and see who it is. Give me one
Okay,
second.
okay, that's fine. Just joined us. Welcome to Sidat HR Digest, brought to you every Sunday, and is brought to you by Sidat HR Consult, your trusted HR partner. So it's all about learning. We learn new things in our profession to demonstrate our expertise. So today we are having a discussion on improving employee performance through training, a step-by-step guide, and we are honored to have Jeffrey Boham with us today, expressing a lot of expertise in that area. And we are glad to have him. He said, as HR practitioners, we are there to set up employees for success. And one of the ways that we can set them up for success is one, through training. So training and development is one of the vehicles to setting up or taking them to a destination called success. And we talked about needs assessment, where he was elaborating on how to assess the current employee performance level. And he says that it begins with a goal setting. So you should be able to set a goal and begin to review the goal. So if you just join us, please put in your comment on the various social media platform and we'll acknowledge your presence. We have Amma Brefi. Amma, you are welcome once again. And Jeff is always honored to have you wherever he finds himself. Bill from watching us from Maryland. Maryland, how is Maryland? We have Inyani watching us from Kenya. Wow, see that HR Digest is going beyond the shores of Ghana. And we have Stephanie. Stephanie is saying that many times teams see that for another year of training. You can count us as for the best. So, Jeff, will delve deeper again. We'll go into training needs analysis. Now that we are able to assess the competency level of our employees, we want to go into conducting training needs analysis. So, if you can throw more light into us so that we can understand what training needs is all about, analysis is all about, what steps should be taken to conduct a thorough training needs analysis. Is that the same as needs assessment? If you can throw more light into it for us.
Yeah, those are terms that sometimes get used interchangeably. But I want to use the concept of going to a hospital, the analogy of going to a hospital, to really understand what a thorough training needs assessment is. When you go to a hospital, okay, when you tell the hospital staff that you have this condition, this ailment, and things like that, they will listen to you, but they also have to run some labs. They have to run some labs and really establish specifically what is going on with you. So that is what a training needs analysis is. You really want to understand the root cause of the problem before you prescribe any solution to it. Okay, when it comes to analyzing training needs, okay, there are three levels that you have to look at. You have to look at what the organization is looking for, what is needed to succeed at the organizational level. You have to look at the gap that actually exists between what the organization expects and what the employee is actually delivering. And then the third level is you have to look at who the employee is and what specific capabilities they need, how the training is going to look like, how they're going to bring it back to the workplace. These are small things that you have to take a look at. So you look at there are three levels of training needs analysis you do. You do the organizational analysis, you do the performance analysis to establish the gap, and you do the performer analysis, because you can have two different people in training. One person may be more ready to be the leader than the other person. So when you look at the performance at the organizational level, you look at the gap analysis, you have to look at the individuals also to see how best you have to target and prescribe the training to meet their specific, I would say, requirements for success. I hope that is pretty clear too.
Wow, wow, wow. I think we would definitely have a training session where you will be the main facilitator. So watch out from Sidat HR Consult. We'll definitely have a training where we'll get Jeff to give us more details because I'm learning a lot. He says that needs and that training needs analysis. We have the organizational, the performance, and the employee him or herself says the performer analysis. So it is very key. So he said you need to know in order to diagnose, or when you diagnose, you definitely have to give a prescription. So right now that we have diagnosed the gap, definitely we need to prescribe. And the prescription is definitely designing a training program. I believe so. So now we move on to designing a training program, and I know that that is your area. It says that. So my question to you is that what elements should be considered when designing a training program to ensure its effectiveness? Because most organization, oh, we want to do as part of our budget, we need to do training, so you must show that you have done training. A typical organization, but we need to determine ROI on training. So, what should be in designing the training program? What should be considered? So, I put that question to you to guide us in that, Jeff.
Thank you very much. You know, there's a process that is used. It's pretty common. It's called the ADDIE process. Okay, the ADDIE process really is an acronym for analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Now there are various variations to it. Now there's SAM, there's Agile, there's all these approaches, but the standard approach is the ADDIE process. It starts with analysis, the needs analysis, where you actually have to establish specifically what is happening. The design phase, to me, is one of the most important, which is where you design the intervention. Let's use the analogy of going to the hospital again. Once they look at the labs, once they look at what's going on with the person, the patient, okay, the employee, that's when the doctor comes in and says, well, based on what we are seeing, we have to give this person these injections 3 times a week. We have to do XYZ 5 times a week. We have to make sure that within 4 weeks, we bring the person's temperature back to the same level. It's the same concept in training. When you establish the need, you design an intervention, you design a solution. Then what the nurses do is they build your case file. Okay, they start looking at, they put the injections together. They start pulling the medications that they have to give you. They start talking to the pharmacist. They start putting everything together. So it's analysis. When you design the intervention, you develop the intervention. Then the implementation phase is where you actually step in and execute in alignment with the design solution. Okay, if the design solution say, give the person this medication twice this morning, 3 times this afternoon, 4 this evening, XYZ, then what you do is you follow at the implementation phase, you follow the step-by-step process that is designed and developed. So it's analysis, design, develop, implementation. Implementation is where you actually execute, and then afterwards, you do an evaluation. The evaluation stage, which you mentioned ROI, the evaluation stage is where you actually step in and say, okay, did we meet the expectations of our design solution? Did we meet the expectations of our own objectives? So that is when we look at all those things and determine whether the training was a success or otherwise. I hope that is also clear. I know we have a lot of HR people on, so I'm sure most people are following.
Oh yes, and I believe the question will also come for them to also. There's opportunity for them to put in a comment or a question in there for you to address. I'm really learning a lot as we've been able to.
I'm learning a
so
lot
now
too.
we're going to look at the diverse learning style. Definitely, once you said you should know, once you have the prescription, they'll tell you on how to administer it. So definitely, you have different sets of employees. So the learning styles to address a gap. So, how do you tailor your training content to address diverse learning style? If you can guide
Yeah,
us
you
into
see,
that.
there's a whole lot of research on learning styles. Now, I look at it more as learning preferences. Some people will say, I'm an auditory learner, I'm a visual learner, I'm this, I'm that. Okay, they're just preferences that people have. Now, when you're building training, you want to present the same content and the same skill sets that you're teaching through various modalities. So, for example, some people are online learners. Some people are older learners who like to sit in the classroom. Some people like to learn experientially. Some people like to just read. Some people like to use audiobooks. So when you build the training programs, what you have to do is you want to present the same content through different learning modalities. And what I would do is I will let people get on the learning platform and pick and choose which modality works well for them. For example, I like going to conferences. When I learn from conferences, I take notes. When I take notes, I go back and I do my research. Okay, I don't go straight with what the person said. I go on YouTube. I generally tell people YouTube is the biggest resource. I go on YouTube. What Jeffrey said, XYZ, what is it? I Google it. Then I make sure I kind of hear that thing presented from different perspectives. Let me tell you something, and I'm going to use my own personal experience. I have never really loved mathematics, but I've always been good at maths. Isn't that weird? Isn't that some kind of a weird statement to hear?
It's kind of weird.
I have never loved mathematics, but as a soft skills person, I would say, do well in math first and foremost at the level of scientists. Why does that happen? Again, I'm going to give credit number one to Amma's husband. Okay, he had a way of teaching us math through storytelling. He had a way of telling us, look, don't get too bogged on this equation. This is what it means. Take it step by step. Okay. So the thing for me is my learning style is different. My learning preferences are different. I have a way that I digest information. So you want to create as many different learning modalities as possible and let people pick and choose which one works for them. I will tell you that even if I don't understand an equation, I'm going to get on YouTube and put the equation in the YouTube, search engine, and ask myself, what does the factor A mean? So what scientists will do as a quick calculation, I want to read it like a book. But I still get the same answers that they get. So we have different styles. I have a friend who actually, he struggled to get to the university because his math was that bad. But when he came to Pace University in New York, okay, he had a Chinese professor. And the Chinese professor said, look, go and get a book that explains calculus in English, not quantitative analysis. So guess what he did? He bought a book that really gets you to read what this equation means, what that equation means, and then he became the best student in computer science, which required a lot of math. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you are a good training designer, you don't just go, and the biggest mistake that a lot of times we make as training designers is we tend to build the training the way we like to learn. Okay, I'll give another story. I think storytelling makes things a little more powerful. I went from one organization where they recruited mainly younger people. Their average age was like 21. Guess what? Even if you got into the classroom and were teaching them, guess what they did? They were always on their phones. They were always texting. But as soon as you get it done, you think they're not paying attention. They understand everything, but they just don't like your style of presentation. They don't want to be sitting in front of a teacher being instructed, because these are, I don't know their generation. These are very young people who maybe they multitask. They may be having a conversation. They may be texting their girlfriends, their boyfriends, but they're still listening. And they get everything correct. Give them an exam at the end of it. They're getting everything correct, 10 over 10. So you think they're not listening, but they're listening because their generation is different. Then I went to consult for a different organization where even when you give people information in a learning management system, even when you give people information in a technology platform, they are like, give me the source. Let me go find the book in the library. Guess what the average age was? The average age was 51. There were people who were like 60. There were people who were like 46. So remember that people learn to digest information the way they were taught how to digest information growing up. Years ago, okay, proud to us getting all these computers, proud to get into micro learning, proud to doing all the things that we're doing now, learning was more in the form of oral learning, where somebody got we didn't have the internet, where somebody got to the classroom and the teacher had to say, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. So that's how older workers learn. Now, every organization has younger workers and older workers. So if you're in a training department building training, you want to cater for all their styles. You want to segment your training in such a way that everybody will have their preferred approach to learning, incorporated so that they can digest everything. I hope I'm making sense.
Very, very, very much. Thank you so much. Francis just joined us, Francis Gabin. We've seen you, and it's really getting excited. So, if you just joined us, we are having a discussion on improving employee performance through training. And we are honored to have Jeffrey with us, a very, very HR practitioner and a consultant as well, guiding us through this process. So, definitely, once we've been able to design the training, it gets to the implementation stage, and we need to do it in a way that it can be. So how, what are the strategies that can be employed to seamlessly integrate training into our daily operation? This place is very key. I have two questions in this area: training implementation. So Jeff, if you can help us with strategies that we can employ it seamlessly to integrate training into daily operations. We should make the workplace a learning organization. So, how do we integrate training into our daily operations? If you can help us with that.
Okay, that's a very good question. Remember, people come to work, but you want to, and the question you're asking me, you want to integrate training into people's daily lives. So it's like telling people to be repairing a plane whilst it's flying. Okay, that's the analogy I'm giving you. The plane is flying, but you tell people we need to be cleaning the plane while it's flying. So there, these days, you have a lot of resources. You have a lot of tools that you can use. For example, um, have you heard of something called EPSS, Enhanced Performance Support Systems? So for you can create like dashboards. You can create that knowledge bases. Our all powerful YouTube is always there. So for me, I have my good friend who's actually watching, William Kwashi. He's sitting right next to me. I'll tell you something. He is surprised. He's visiting me from Ghana. He is surprised at the fact that I never sleep. Because the thing is, I'm constantly reading, or I'm teasing my friends on Facebook. I'm constantly reading. But I'll tell you something. It's because YouTube is always there. If I don't understand something, I put it on YouTube. Okay. When I was in grad school, remember I talked about the fact that I don't like math, but I'm super good in math. Is that not funny? Guess what I did? Anytime I never understood something, I would ask that question on YouTube, and I'll have about 10 different professors presenting it. When you hear the same thing from 10 different perspectives, okay, what happens is one might explain it a little bit, the other might support it. At the end of the day, when you watch all 10 videos, you are going to understand it. So, what you want to do as part of integrating training into performance is you want to give people a lot of dashboards. You want to give, I had in my previous organization, we created something called a knowledge platform, a technology knowledge platform, where when people are creating something or when they're getting ready to create something and they don't understand, we call some things micro videos, step by step, like a checklist. This is how you do these tasks. Step one, this is how you do it. Let's watch a micro 1 minute video on it. Step two, how you do. So somebody might know step one through step maybe 9, but not step 10. All the person has to do is once they check off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, when they get to 7, they can just click on that micro video and watch how to do 10. Just get it right away. As they repeat it over time, they will pick it up. So those are some approaches. But remember, that is where your creative thinking also comes in. The answer to every question in life is it depends. Somebody may digest information properly in one sense. Somebody may not be able to digest it in a different sense. So you really want to understand who your learner populations are, what challenges they're dealing with, and create the right systems and the right tools and resources to make things actually work for them. I see there was a small pause in connection, but I think you're back. So
Yes, I am back now. Okay, so thank you so much. So we'll still move on. There's a lot to discuss and talk about, but looking at our time, definitely we'll schedule an in-depth discussion, then we can discuss more about it. So we are looking at feedback and evaluation. You know that whatever training training that you design and implement, there is a reason why you did that, and you want to know and definitely have a feedback in relation to that. So we want to find out, definitely as HR management, we want to find out what has been the impact of this training that you did. So we want to find out why is obtaining feedback very crucial in evaluating the success of the training program.
Let me start by asking a question. If you have children, okay, if you have children and you tell them to lay their beds when they wake up, and you don't go to their room to check whether they lay their beds or not, how would you know? So
You wouldn't know.
I'm trying to allude to a certain point. What gets measured gets done. Okay. If the child knows that at 8:02, dad or mom is going to come to the room to check to see whether they actually laid their bed, that child will do it at 6 o'clock because they know dad is going to come at 8:02 before they go to school. So, and I will tell you, and I'm going to be blunt, that is one of the reasons why the West tends to move forward faster than our part of the world. Reason being that when a white person tells you that I want you to build 3 websites, they are also paying somebody to go and check whether you build 3 or 2 or 1 and the quality of the websites. So the point that I'm trying to establish is you want to set the parameters to check things right from the start. You want to hold people accountable, and you want to hold people accountable to the expected goals that you set in the beginning. I have seen organizations, believe it or not, in this part of the world, I've seen organizations who have had conversations with people and said, we hired you at $150,000, but your productivity is not up to $150,000. So guess what? We are re-offering you based on what we are seeing. We are re-offering you $75,000. If you accept it, you continue to work with us. If you don't accept it, then we don't want to work with you because you are not giving us what we were looking for. How many times do you see that in Africa? The person will go to the gods and the person will get angry.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yeah, I know.
you hold a certain position because of your performance, and they will hold you accountable. That's the purpose of feedback. So even when it comes to training, at the end of it all, you want to be sure that you evaluate the skill set that the people came in pre-training and their skill set that they achieved post-training to really establish how much they learned. And you're going to take that learning, that understanding of learning. So if a person was able to calculate or was able to work, let's say 5 equations correctly before they came to training, and then after training, they are able to work 11, what it means is that the knowledge gained during the training is 6. So when you transfer it to the workplace, you want to hold them accountable to improving their performance by that 6 that you increased in training. That's what we're talking about, and that's the power of feedback. That's a whole conversation by itself. I'll tell you that.
Thank you. I love the point where to say to hold people accountable. We live in an era where somebody can just get up. I've not gone for training the whole of this year. And when the person goes back from training, goes to training and get back, we need to see improvement. Definitely, we don't see anything. So it's all about getting people accountable. So we can talk about training without technologies and tools. In this era we find ourselves, technology is playing a major role in HR operations. So I know that you have a whole lot of technology that you can talk about, which we can integrate them in our organization. So Jeff, my biggest question to you here is that what role does learning management system play in monitoring and managing training initiatives?
First and foremost, thank you very much, Mr. Eben. First and foremost, not everybody understands what an LMS is. So let me explain what an LMS is, a learning management system. You see, you have 2 components. It's a relational database, okay? It's a relational database that tracks training completions. It deploys training. Now, sometimes you have organizations that sell packages that have an LMS and an LCMS. The LMS is a learning management system. The LCMS is a learning content management system. So what it is that the LCMS tends to be a centralized repository. Okay. Um, when a person, let me use another everyday analogy for people to understand. When a person goes online and the person is buying from Amazon, okay, the interaction, the interface that the person has is similar to an LMS. The LMS is a learning management system. That learning management system is more like the administrator of the learning. When the person finds a product and moves it into their Amazon cart and they make a purchase, they are doing all that through the interface that really is designed to work with the person. That interface is the LMS. Now, when that person makes a request, it goes into Amazon's centralized database and informs Amazon that Mr. Eben from Ghana wants to buy a shoe from this other vendor. So send an email to the vendor and let the vendor ship the email because Mr. Eben has paid for it. So that interaction, that relational database activity really does, it really is something the LMS does. Now, the LMS then connects to an LCMS. The LCMS is the Learning Content Management System. That is where instructional designers, that is where training developers, that is where they build the courses. So, for example, when you and I are working in a team, you might be building management courses. I may be building technology courses. We put all the courses in the LCMS. So the course profile that the person is accessing from Philippines is the same course profile that another person is accessing from Germany. Is the same course profile that a person is accessing from Spain. But they are using a learning management system and I would say an interface that really says, search for this tool within the LCMS, pull it up, and then download it onto my desktop and let me take it. So there's a lot of roles. There are a lot of varied roles that I would say technology systems basically bring to training. There are a lot of people who specialize in those areas. They are LMS administrators. You go to most organizations, they have somebody who's a director or manager of learning management and content management systems. Okay, just the way you, and mostly those people, in addition to understanding the training function, have a technology background because they have to troubleshoot. They have to find out when there are latency issues, when there are challenges and things like that. They have to look at all that. And then there are people who specialize in building the training. There are people who specialize in doing the needs analysis. There are people who specialize in implementation, like the training presenters and things like that. And there are people who specialize in evaluation. So when you talk about the role of learning management systems, that's another conversation by itself. There's so many tools, and the more and more technology gets infused into training, the more significant and impactful that role also becomes. I hope that is also understandable.
Very, 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 very. We really need to schedule more time so that we can discuss a lot. So, Jeff, my next question has to do, and that is one of the things most HR practitioners are not able to determine. At the beginning of the year, we set our nice budget. They go for discussion and justification or defense. They say, "Oh, the expenses is too high. Let us cut down training budget." The reason being that we are not able to determine the ROI on training programs. So my question to you, this one is very dear to our heart, so that this year they will cut down our training budget. How are we able to, how should we be able to communicate the value of training to key stakeholders? Definitely management, the board, they need to see value or what I'm investing into my workforce. How do I determine this investment, that the return? So I'll appreciate this a lot.
Thank you very much. Remember, I said something. I said, what gets measured gets done. Okay. Now, the very thing that doctors do, okay, the very thing that hospitals do, training organizations must also do. For example, when a person shows up to the hospital with a broken leg, okay, they do the analysis, they run the lab reports, they design a solution, and they say 6 months from now, after we have taken this person through the design steps that we're going to take the person through, the person's leg is going to be healed and the person can go back to playing soccer. You have a lot of soccer players who get hurt and they get told that within 3 weeks, we're bringing you back to the field because we need you playing. Okay, it's the same way in training. You see, sometimes when we start thinking that training is different from worldly issues, okay, what happens is we confuse ourselves. So evaluating training programs is a way that training professionals have to systematically demonstrate. I'm not talking about talking about it. Systematically demonstrate the value add that training brought to the situation. And once they demonstrate that, I will tell you something. I'm also a business person and I'm a project manager. When you actually talk to people who put money into training, they don't care whether the training was nice, but the mistake that a lot of trainers do is people laughed at training. People were happy. You know, they played Kofi Kinata and everybody danced. So, yeah, they said the training guy is very funny. Oh, it was great too. That's not what the executive is looking for. Because the executive is looking for an increment in their stock value. The person wants to see their profitability grow. So there are two approaches to actually evaluating training. There's the Kirkpatrick approach, okay? And then there's a Jack Phillips approach. The Kirkpatrick approach is a 4-step process. And Jack Phillips believes in Kirkpatrick's approach, but he actually has a show me the money ROI analysis at the end of it. So let me quickly walk through the Kirkpatrick approach, which is levels 1 through 4. And I'm going to add the Jack Phillips approach. I know we're running out of time. The Kirkpatrick approach is the 4-step approach to evaluating training programs. The first thing they look for is reaction. Okay, during the training, how did people react to the training? Did people like the food? Did people like the air condition? Did people like the presenter? That's level 1. That's baseline. Did people like the training? Was XYZ hotel good? Did the AC in the hotel work well? Okay, it didn't work well. It wasn't optimum. We didn't get 5-star ratings. So we're going to shift the hotel next time around. We're going to change the presenter. We're going to change the content. We're going to change the approach. That's level 1. So level 1 is just reaction from the Kirkpatrick approach. Then based on the reaction or from reaction, you do a level 2. The level 2 assessment of training is where you are actually evaluating learning. You give them a pre-training assignment and a post-training assignment. Look at the skills that they utilized during the pre-training assessment and the skills, how those skills improved post-training. Sometimes you want to do treatment group and control group. Okay, you send half of your employees to training and half just have them stay without really learning the new skills. Then you come and you observe them maybe 90 days after the training. The people who attended the training, are they producing more than the people who didn't attend the training? By how much are they producing more? If the people who didn't attend the training are still building 10 websites a week, but the people who attended the training and learned the shortcuts are building 15 websites a week, it means the training added 5 more websites efficiency to the training. Document that. Okay, take that to your stakeholders and let them know that people who attend my training, after 3 months, they actually produce 15 websites per day. So if you want to get the most out of your employees, let them attend my training. So that is transfer. So level 1 is reaction. Level 2 is learning. Level 3 is how did the learning transfer to the workplace? And level 4 is the business impact. Did the training actually change what the organization was trying to do? So if people start moving from 10 websites per week to 15 websites per week, how much more did our stock value increase? How much more did we become a valued employee? How much more? You'll be surprised that the same phone that has the same functionalities. Okay, somebody will buy a phone for $200, but they will buy an iPhone for $3,000. You know why? Because increasingly, Apple has demonstrated that they will continue to increase the efficiency of the same gadget in your hands. Okay, you have iPhones that do way more things, and I'm not trying to sell the iPhone or anything. I use a Samsung. Where's my phone? Let me show you. I'm a big Samsung guy. So what I'm trying to say is, if the organization has a continuous improvement mindset, that tends to impact their employees. It tends to impact their outputs. It tends to impact their gadgets that they build, and people see more value and functionality out of it, to the point where people are willing to pay more dollars on that. Now, that is levels 1 through 4 with Kirkpatrick, who happens to be my former boss. Okay. And then Jack Phillips.
Wow.
Yeah, the Kirkpatrick is my former boss. That's why I talk plenty about him. I know him very well. Anyway, but he's passed, by the way. And then we have the Jack Phillips approach. Jack Phillips is also a very good friend. I have pictures with him. Now, Jack Phillips and I were actually writing a book. Now, I'll tell you something. Jack Phillips takes it beyond level 4. Level 4, remember we talked about level 4 being the business impact. Jack Phillips' ROI is an accounting calculation. He owns the ROI Institute, and what he does is he utilizes that accounting calculation to determine the financial contribution of the training. So, reaction, learning, transfer, business impact. He will take the business impact and he will attach quantitative metrics to the qualitative improvements that he saw. And then he will say, we invested $12,000 into the training. After 3 years, after 2 years, adjusted for inflation, over year 1, we sold 3 million because of the training. Okay, because of the training. Remember, we can split the company into 2. The part of the company that doesn't attend the training and the part of the company that attends the training. So if they want to learn the impact of the training, they may, for example, say, everybody in the Brong-Ahafo region will attend the training. Everybody in all other regions will not attend the training. We can use Brong-Ahafo as a case study. Now, if we realize that drivers who attended training in the Brong-Ahafo region are driving on the average and bringing more revenue, okay, when we look at the total financial revenue that they bring to the company, we will say, this is how much more impact and return on investment. We invested $12,000. Okay, the other places where we didn't invest anything, guess what? They still sold $1 million, or they still brought in an efficiency of $1 million. But we invested $12,000 in the Brong-Ahafo region, and the Brong-Ahafo region this year brought us $3 million. So the $12,000 adjusted for inflation, and when you add all other, I would say, extraneous impacts, you might say, brought us the $12,000 ended up bringing us $2 million more than the other regions. And the $2 million more that brought it in, we can say marketing brought 900,000, finance brought XYZ. So the training alone brought us an additional 1 million more to things. So the return on investment from 12,000, which over 3 years will become like 19,000, resulted in an additional gain of 1 million. So therefore, the training made an impact. So this company is actually valuable. So people should invest in. So that is the confluence and integration of business and training. Okay, you have to look at all those variables.
Wow. So, guys, I think you have to watch out. That is going to bring you a training very soon, because what we are learning today, we need a 3 day session to discuss much more deeper into training and all. But before Jeff, you give your final words. Definitely, we need leadership involvement in everything. They said everything starts at the top. So, my last question before you give your final words is that how can leaders actively participate in fostering a culture of continuous learning within the organization? As an HR, my focus wherever I work is to make sure that the organization becomes a continuous learning organization. So, my question to you have been in the industry, you are the grandpapas. So, how do leaders participate in fostering culture of continuous learning?
So there's an African saying that if a fish is gonna rot, it's gonna start from the head. I think we've all heard that before, right? Let me ask a question and let people just ask themselves the same question, which is, if you want your kids to go to church every Sunday and you don't go to church, would your kids be inspired to go to church?
No, no.
So I would say that leadership must set the context, leadership must articulate the vision, but leadership also has to role play. They have to model the vision. Okay. If you tell people as a manager that you want them to show up early to work and the starting time is 8 o'clock, you want them to know that you will be at work by 6:45. Jeffrey is always going to be there. So I just have to make sure I'm there before 8 because he's going to mark me present or not. They need to know that Jeffrey will be there. So leadership has to set the vision, leadership has to articulate the vision, and leadership has to live the vision in order for people to follow suit. If you don't go to church, don't be surprised when your kids tell you one day that they don't enjoy going to church. You started it.
Thank you. He said we must live the vision. And I think that is the very key word. Once you have set it, you should be able to live by it. It's been an awesome moment with you, Jeff. And I want you to give your final words so that we can draw down the curtains. It's
Thank you very much, Mr. Eben. Thank you, Sadat. I think that before I give my final word, I think I want to give the audience an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have because and I know this is something that you will do. I know you are very cautious of time, but I want to cede a bit of my time to anybody who has any questions to ask before I give my final statements.
okay. So you can just comment on our various social media platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, or on the LinkedIn. Just comment in it. He's here to answer our question for us. So whilst we are waiting for your question, let me acknowledge some few viewers who joined us. We have Joseph from Liberia. Joseph, Happy New Year. We have Mamiesi from Accra. We have Matilda watching us from Akosombo. And we have Prosper from Tema. And Francis is still giving us a thumbs up. Very insightful discussion, and they are so happy today. This is just setting the tone for the year. So this is to tell you that there is a lot that is going to happen this year. So just tune in every Sunday from 4 to 5 p.m. on Standard HR Digest, and trust me, you are going to learn a lot which can impact in your profession and also in your organization. So the time is ticking. Your questions, if not, definitely then Jeff will give his final words. Then we call it. Then we see ourselves next week on that. Amma says, "Great learning. Thank you very much." It seems that Jeff, everybody understood, and they are looking out for more. So definitely, you are definitely going to come back again. And this one is going to be a 3 day session with you.
Again, I want to thank Amma once again because her husband really built me. So I acknowledge that man wherever I go. I'm sorry that I'm saying this publicly, but that man really changed me. He fixed me. He made me into something that I never thought I could be. But anyway, when it comes to my final statement, I would say that I know most of us are HR professionals. Most of us are in the field of training and development. Even if we're general HR, I think that we all have some responsibilities with regards to training and development. What I would say is that let us not do training haphazardly. Let us not see training as an afterthought or as something that the company dedicated budget to, so therefore we have to build the training. Let us make training an integral part of the organization's strategy. Let us tell our leaders that, wait, if we want our team to win the World Cup, we need to train them in how to do ABC. Bring training to the fore, bring training to the boardroom, bring training to the key stakeholders, bring training to the business executives. Let them know that without training, they can compete with Argentina. Without training, let me tell you something. And again, I know I like to use a lot of soccer analogies. There was a goal that was called that actually Ghana ended up losing Atlanta 1996. We were playing Brazil, okay, and they had really learned the laws of the game, the rules of the game. So when the referee said it was a free kick, the referee didn't have to blow the whistle. They knew it already. So as soon as the guy put the ball down, the Ghanaians were waiting for the referee to blow the whistle, and the guy just passed the ball and they scored this. And the referee said it was a goal. And the Ghanaians were protesting. But when they went and looked at the FIFA rules, they said once the referee has accepted, okay, at a tournament, once the referee has accepted that it's a foul, you can just go ahead and kick it. So it actually was accepted as a goal, and that's how Ghana got kicked out. Why? Because we were not trained to understand the rules. We were only trained to do what? To play the game. But you have to train people to think like owners. You have to train your employees to think like business owners. You have to. I had a group of younger folks who asked me, they interviewed me recently, and they asked me, they said, what's the most important tool to actually breed success as they grow? Guess what I told them? I said they need engagement and they need to value ethics and integrity. Okay? Integrity is what you do when nobody's watching. Integrity is how much you learn when nobody's watching. Okay? So let us build a culture of continuous feedback. Feedback is not a bad thing. Feedback is actually good. I keep asking folks the question, if you have a best friend who knew something that has been holding you back all these years and that person never told you, would you consider the person a friend? But remember, the way you receive feedback also makes it difficult for the person to have the confidence to tell you, Kwame, you need to be taking showers. I'm sorry. People are talking about you. Okay. Why am I saying that? You want to be open to feedback. You want to be open to giving and receiving feedback. So as HR folks, we have to build a feedback-rich environment. We have to build an environment where people can go to their bosses and tell their bosses, I understand you have a PhD from Harvard, but this is not how we do this in Ghana. Sir, I think we need to change our ways. We want to build confidence. But at the same time, in order to build confidence, you have to improve your skill set. So when it comes down to training, I want to remind a lot of people watching today that training is not an afterthought. Training is a business imperative. Training is the reason why organizations move forward every year. Training is why people go to Silicon Valley to learn how to improve the iPhone, which moved from iPhone 6 to we are now iPhone 15 Pro Max. Okay, they add just a few functionalities. Samsung has S23, they have S24 coming. They are improving year after year after year. People who build websites. Now you have chat. I built a website last night with ChatGPT. It took me 2 minutes. So build your skills in these areas. When you hear about it, go on YouTube. The good thing is that our forefathers didn't have YouTube. We have YouTube now. So don't tell me that you are not getting the chance to go to school. You have a phone, you get on Facebook on your phone. I tease my friends all the time. Whenever my Chelsea wins, I make a lot of noise on Facebook. But guess what? I'm always constantly on YouTube as well. I'm learning. So the thing is, let us not downplay the value of training. Let us really focus on training again as a strategic lever. Let us build our skills. Let us go to leadership. Let us tell leadership, this is what training can do for you. And they will start investing massively in training. And whenever something happens, we're not going to lose our jobs. We're actually going to retain our jobs because we are a strategic impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much. It's been a great moment, an awesome moment having you talk more about improving employees' performance through training. And I must say, I have learned a lot today, and I'm just going to have a greater impact in my organization. To you, so Jeff, thank you very much. We would have you more,
Thank
and we
you.
will talk more. Thank you so much. Say that, and all viewers say a big thank you. So, to all our viewers who joined us today, we say a big thank you. Wherever you are watching you, we acknowledge you. And I want to urge you to always tune in. Keep watching us every Sunday from 4 to 5 p.m. That is Sidat HR Digest, brought to you by Sidat Consult, your number one trusted HR partner. So please, there also watch out on our various social media platforms, our training programs for the year. So what you just witnessed with Jeff is just a tip on the iceberg. So a tip of the iceberg. So please stay tuned and watch out for our annual training program calendar so that you can participate in that. Amma, we say thank you for watching. Patorankim, thank you. Michael, thank you for watching. Francis Gaben, thank you. Gloria Salamatu, our lawyer viewer, thank you. Portia, thank you. Mayfair, Bill Kwashi, Inyenya, Stephanie, and Joseph, Mami, Esi, Prosper, and Matilda. Thank you for watching us, and I wish you another happy new year, and we'll see ourselves next week. Stay blessed.